Straight from Japan, we're getting new information about the next generation Mazda MX-5. Let's get into it. If you're excited about anything MX-5 Miata, smash the like button. We got some new details coming out of the land of the rising sun. Over at Spider 7, this is a pretty reliable scoop site over in Japan. Not quite as elite level as Best Car News, but they're typically my number 2 source for juicy scoops out of Japan. They're reminding us that it's been 7 years since the ND Miata came out, and they're saying that it could still be called the NE. We know the 124 Fiat was called the NE internally, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is also called the NE. Regardless, it's 5th gen Miata, and what do we have here? In terms of the styling, they're saying look hard at the vision study model that we saw this past November. Mazda did not give us a lot of information on this vision study concept. It is beautiful though, and if it looks anything like this, we're all going to be clamoring for the new next generation Mazda Miata. But unlike the vision study concept, we're not going to get butterfly doors or pop-up headlights like we saw in the NA Miata. Now for the interior, think of the attention that Mazda's given the new CX-90 and miniaturizing it for the MX-5. We'll have a customizable digital instrument cluster with improved graphics, a larger infotainment display, wireless charging, more materials, and better improved passenger space. When I saw better improved passenger space, I know this could be an answered prayer for many people out there. The problem is with increased passenger space, the vehicle will also get larger as well in theory. I'm 6'1". I'm right at the top end of about as big as you can be to fit into an ND Miata. I know people slightly bigger than me that just don't fit into it and unfortunately can't drive one of the most rewarding cars out there on the market. So hopefully they can do some wizardry, improve passenger space without making the vehicle too much bigger or heavier. We'll also have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and of course a bunch of safety features that no one's going to be excited about in a sports car. But the most important thing here to talk about with the new next generation Mazda Miata is the powertrain. What are they doing? Are they going to go full battery electric? They've talked about it, but that's really far out in the future, and we need much lighter batteries in order for this to be fun. But it is looking to be electrified here. We're getting a 48-volt mild hybrid technology paired with an improved 2-liter inline-4, and they're saying Skyactiv X engine. I'm not so sure that it'll be Skyactiv X because we don't see any Skyactiv X technology here in North America, and maybe for certain markets they could put a Skyactiv X engine in it. I just don't see it happening for our market, but I'd like to be wrong. For transmission, they're saying CX-90 should be a good basis with a 6-speed manual that is not in the CX-90, or the newly developed 8-speed multi-clutch automatic, which is available in the CX-90. Hopefully they make it a little bit more sporty. And last but not least, world premiere of the Roadster NE is expected in the second half of 2025, so we're a little over 2 years away at this point. So if you want nothing to do with mild hybrids or electrification in your MX-5, go get an ND right now, because that might be the last of the most pure MX-5 that we will ever see. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into 48-volt mild hybrid. I'll put SEG Automotive in the description below because they have a huge write-up of it. But to boil it down, it's a cost-effective and lightweight measure to add electrification to a vehicle, to reduce emissions, to improve response, to save fuel. All right, and so all that will be happening in the MX-5. But how they do it can differ massively. They say that you can mild hybrid a vehicle in multiple ways. So there's the belt integration, which we'll talk more about here in a little bit. There's the P1, which is putting the electric assist motor in between the gasoline engine and the automatic transmission. And that is similar to what we actually see in a ton of other setups. Technically, in my driveway, I have a strong hybrid, the RX 500H, that does a similar situation that puts a single electric motor between the engine and transmission. We also see this in the Tundra iForce Max setup. The Hyundai products use a setup similar to this, and I could keep on going with the Germans as well. But typically we see this sort of setup not necessarily in mild hybrids that often, but more so in strong hybrids, at least with the placement of the electric assist motor. Now, P2 and P3 transmission setting, This is extremely unlikely, I think, for the MX-5, and you still need an additional electric start assist motor up here. So the cost, I think, would just be too high, but it would probably provide a better driving experience. And if we go down to the rear axle, yes, you can put an electric assist motor on the rear axle, which probably would be the most exciting and the most fun to drive. I just don't think it would do it. I think that it would cost too much for them and increase the prices of the MX-5 too much. So we're going to go back up to P0 right here, belt integration. It's the most basic solution for mild hybridization. And the motor generator here up front does replace a traditional starter, which makes it far more smooth and start-stop integration. And modification of the powertrain architecture is minimal, and so are the implementation efforts and system costs. And this setup can reduce fuel consumption up to 15% in real-world operation compared to a conventional combustion engine. All right, so what we're going to do is look at the diagram system of the 48-volt mild hybrid that they actually have in employment right now in the CX-60 and the CX-90. So we're looking at the inline 6 here. And we're not going to see all-wheel drive this transfer case here go to the front wheels in the MX-5. It would be cool, but it would add weight and take away from the rear-wheel drive nature of the vehicle. But after dissecting this, I think this is good confirmation that the motor generator for the mild hybrid system will be on the belt, just like we have here on the CX-60, for example. Now, the placement of the battery will be interesting. It's kind of right in the middle of the vehicle here, which is good for weight distribution. If they wanted a little bit better weight distribution, they could keep it back in the trunk area. But the problem with the MX-5, it already has such a small trunk, and a 48-volt mild hybrid battery would be taking up space there. Now, it's not a large battery. It could be half a kilowatt up to 1 kilowatt, and an MX-5 would probably be as small as possible. So I think 0.5 kilowatts at the most would be my guess. And maybe they can move some of the inverters and DC-DC converters back into the back here, and maybe that would help with weight distribution as well. But those inverters and converters are, at least on the CX-60, housed right around the transmission. So probably that's where it will be as well in the MX-5. So if we're adding electrification here to the MX-5, what kind of power and torque benefits could we see, and fuel economy benefits could we see here? Currently, we have 181 horsepower in the MX-5 from the 2-liter Skyactiv G. I'm going to assume they use the same engine, at least here for our specs here in the United States. And maybe they could use the Skyactiv X elsewhere. But here what we have, 181 horsepower, 148 pound-feet of torque. Now, Mazda's miles per gallon are very conservative. They quote the MX-5 at 29 miles per gallon. I've got 40 miles per gallon when I baby this thing. So expect much, much better fuel economy than 29 miles per gallon, even on the current model. So here we go with the mild hybrid setup on top of the 2-liter that we already have. We could see a 20 horsepower electric assist and roughly a 20 pound-feet of torque electric assist, maybe 25 pound-feet or so, which will get us maybe to that holy grail of 200 horsepower, which would be amazing to see in a stock MX-5 Miata. Torque would be up to 173 pound-feet of torque. Miles per gallon would be minimum of 32. Look, if I can get 40, if I'm babying it in an MX-5, maybe 45, 50 miles per gallon is possible here. And there's no clear-cut answer on how much cost a mild hybrid would add to this system. But going over to this guy, Jason C., car nut for over 40 years, reasonably knowledgeable. He's guessing, pure conjecture of course, but somewhere around $1,000 to add to the price of the vehicle. And the irony here is that Toyota's hybrids are actually costing less than their traditional gas models at this point, at least to develop. And the cost of development here would be extremely low as well. And adding this 48-volt hybrid to our current MX-5 actually wouldn't be that hard since they're going through the belt-driven method. It's very simple, in theory, to just slap this onto the current system and call it a day, except with the new 8-speed auto as a replacement for the 6-speed auto. And weight is always a consideration when we're talking about hybridization or electrification of any sort. Luckily, mild hybrids don't increase the weight all that much. If you look at, like, say, Toyota's hybrids, they can increase the weight maybe 10%. I'm not talking plug-in hybrids, that's different. But standard hybrids, maybe 10% added weight compared to a conventional ICE vehicle. However, these 48-volt mild hybrid systems, and it could be even less than this, but adding 25 kilograms, a little over 50 pounds. So 55 pounds or so added to the MX-5. Not that big of a deal in my opinion, because it's not dead weight. You're getting fuel efficiency benefits, and you're also getting a slight boost in power, about 20 horsepower. So definitely worth it in my opinion. So with everything we talked about today, coming in late 2025, the NE Miata at 200 horsepower, mild hybrid setup, better fuel economy, possibly better room, better technology, and looks to kill if they're based off that vision study concept. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited for it? I mean, what's not to be excited about any MX-5 Miata? I wish they came out with more special editions of it. I think that would be epic. We got the orange one not that long ago for the anniversary edition. But yeah, I feel like with that vehicle, they could really nickel and dime us with beautiful, unique color combinations and add-ons and whatnot, maybe suspension upgrades, but they've never done it, really. So anyways, I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe, because I can't wait to drive the CX-90 here on the channel, throw my family into it, test it out, tell you everything I like and dislike about that 3-row crossover, because it ushers in a new era for Mazda, absolutely. But I got to shut it down. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day, and peace.